Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about the power of music, and in this case, the opera. That's why we're honored to have with us Will Schutz, Director of Marketing and PR with Nashville Opera. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot of productions to talk about, the lineup, we have education and outreach, but let's go ahead and start with some context. Give us a little bit of history for Nashville Opera.
Sure. Nashville Opera was founded in 1981 by Mary Courtner Ragland, who was a Juilliard-trained soprano. She thought that a great city deserved great opera, and so she gathered a group of her friends, and the rest is history. For the first 20 or so years, the company was affiliated with Nashville Symphony, but then as Nashville Symphony's schedule grew, we separated and had our own Nashville Opera Orchestra, which is primarily comprised of Music Row, legends, let's put it that way. Since 1996, we've put an education tour on the road that has reached almost 800,000 kids across Middle Tennessee so far. And it goes all the way down to Sewanee, all the way up to Clarksville, all the way out to Cookeville. It is a big regional tour every spring. And in addition to that, we have 4 main stage productions every calendar year, and our Opera on Wheels tour that takes 45, 50-minute opera, Great American Songbook, Broadway concerts into the community for free.
Let's talk about opera as a genre, because I think that in many cases, when you look at the professionalism and you look at, the performers, the singers, the artists, very well trained, physically fit, can do so much to create magic with their voices. Talk about kind of the artistry of opera. Give us a little bit of, some of those nuances.
Sure. I mean, as an art form, we've been doing this for 400 years now. Not a lot of other formats can say that. It's an interesting thing. We share a big complex here in Sylvan Park with the ballet. And I always say, ballet has a natural inborn training ground because little girls dream of being the Sugar Plum Fairy. There's not a lot of girls growing up who are dreaming of being Brunhilde. And so opera takes a lot longer. Usually classically trained opera singers don't reach the power of their voice until their 30s or 40s. And so part of what we do with our young artist training program is help to get them there. We offer a 6-month training program. It's a residency where they are the staff of the education tour. They perform at our gala and they take roles in our main stage spring production. So it's all about this training process and learning from legends along the way.
Give us something you wish everyone knew about opera in terms of just being able to enjoy it and understand kind of what you're talking about, the history, the legacy, the artistry. Sure. What's something you wish everyone knew about opera in general?
In general, think of opera as the musical theater of its day. And the fact that opera is not a dead form. There are new operas created every year. We have premiered 9 of them. Next October, we will premiere our 10th. So this is a living, breathing art form that is really working to reach people where they live now. My number one joke about opera is, it's opera. Nobody ends up happy or alive. And while that is largely the case, it is an art form that reflects human life in all of its deep passions and sorrows and truly joys as well.
So let's go ahead and dive into the productions. Go ahead and tease us.
Sure. So when we get into January of 2024, we will be remounting our production of Daniel Catan's Florencia and El Amazonas. This is a work written by the late Mexican-American composer Daniel Catan. We performed it here about 10 years ago and then gave it its New York City premiere. Little bit of a sidebar, the Metropolitan Opera tomorrow night will finally get around to performing it. So this is a work that we've believed in for over a decade, took to Lincoln Center in conjunction with the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And we're bringing it back because it is a sumptuous, gorgeous piece. This idea is of lost love. This world famous opera singer travels down the Amazon River on this steamboat looking for her lost love, who is a butterfly hunter in the Amazon. And the search for youth, the search for love, all of the classics that literature and art deal with. So we'll be doing that in the third week of January down at TPAC in the Polk Theater, 3 performances.
When you look at a calendar of events throughout the year, you mentioned 4 major productions.
Yeah.
Give us, kind of the dates we need to go ahead and start marking for 2024.
So usually we run a school year season. There are a lot of companies out there that will do a concentrated summer festival. We usually start late September, early October, and then there is a November-ish show, and then usually January and April. And so after we have Florencia, we go right into the education tour, and after that's over, we'll be doing the Magic Flute, Mozart's beloved family masterpiece, in April next year at TPAC in the Jackson Hall. One really great thing about that, everybody thinks, oh, opera is completely foreign, I'm not going to have any idea what's going on. For every single production above the stage, we are projecting the lyrics in English so that people can follow along. In addition to that, when we get around to Magic Flute in April, we will be singing in German, but then the spoken dialogue will be in English to make this a little bit more family friendly, a great way to introduce people who may not be familiar or really comfortable with the genre.
How difficult is that for you and your team in terms of translation and the ability to, bring all of it to life in an easy format? Is that difficult? Is it easy? Technology, I know, obviously plays a role. Artificial intelligence maybe helps now, but
Sure.
How does all that come about on your end?
It is a big collaborative art form. You will have productions where it is huge, massive physical scenery. Our 2014 production of La Boheme, which we just remounted in September of 22, is enormous. It fills the stage at TPAC, and the other parts of it fill the wings. And then you have productions that are practically purely digital. This January production of Florencia is very video heavy. The chorus of this show more or less is part of the set. They are singers, but they are pretending to be part of the Amazon River floating in the stage foreground. And so it really does vary. We collaborate with companies all across the country, and we share costuming, we share sets. Our production of La Traviata was just in Raleigh, North Carolina last month. So it is really a big shared consortium that makes this art happen.
Yeah, that's kind of cool behind the scenes. So talk about the education tour. Obviously, you've been alluding to it throughout, but go ahead and dive into how all that comes about.
Absolutely. So 70% of the work we do at Nashville Opera happens outside of a theater and totally for free. So this education tour this past year went to 101 venues. That is grade schools, high schools, public libraries, community centers, and we take a child-friendly opera. This past year was Little Red's Most Unusual Day. So the story of Little Red Riding Hood, but set to opera music, but with modern English lyrics. This next spring, we'll be doing The Three Little Pigs, which does not, thankfully, deal with the importance of good construction. It deals with the ideas of reading and cooperation. And so these messages are definitely geared towards students and introducing them to the art form, teaching them a lesson, making sure that this is as friendly as it can be. And so the education tour is funded by super generous sponsors, both individuals and corporate, that do make this free to absolutely every school. We will never turn a school away for an inability to pay because there's nothing that they need to pay. And a big part of that also is we believe in growing the future of our art form. Opera does have a very elitist reputation. If I said opera and told somebody to give me adjectives, it would be old, rich, and white. And we're really bucking that trend. Since COVID, 42% of our audience members have been first timers. And, that has a great deal to do with the massive influx of people into Nashville. But it also does come down to the fact that we do family-friendly productions at least once a year and encourage people to grow into this art form through the tour. As I mentioned earlier, we've reached almost 800,000 students. This year, we will cross over that marker. And since 1996, that's a remarkable growth. The challenge for us is time. The education tour has to fit in between the January production and the April production. This coming tour sold out in 4 hours. All the available spaces were booked in 4 hours. We have a waiting list of over 70 schools that are hoping to get it. Luckily, we will be able to provide them a virtual tour presentation, so a filmed version of it. They get education tour packets. They get manuals on the teachers being able to talk about the art form to their students. So we try to make this an all-encompassing. This isn't just a diversion, just an afternoon assembly. Yay, we don't have to go to class. But there is a lot to it.
Staying on the thread of education, but also too bucking the stereotypes, increasing diversity, opening up the floodgates in a big way. You have an HBCU fellowship. Talk about that.
The HBCU fellowship is in its 5th season now. We've partnered with both Tennessee State and Fisk. Nashville is super lucky to have 2 historically Black colleges, universities. And Nashville is not alone in the fact that the arts are I'm trying to think how best to put this, have a history of really not reaching to marginalized communities. And artistic leadership, performers, stage crew, marketing people, etc. We're really doubling down on this idea of opening doors. So the HBCU fellowship is really all-encompassing. It's a year-long program. We're working with both universities to get college credit for the students for participating in this. It involves master classes with world-renowned artists, diction workshops, coachings with our chorus master, financial literacy. So everything that it takes to become an artist, not just to perform the art. And so we've been growing this program. Like I said, it's in its 5th year now, and we're thrilled with how this program has spawned others like it with other companies across the nation.
You mentioned, obviously, opening access, taking the show on the road. So talk about Nashville Opera's Opera on Wheels.
Opera on Wheels was the ultimate pandemic pivot. Those 2 words that I wish I never had to say again, pivot and pandemic. But ultimately, it is a huge box trailer. The side folds down. It's an open mobile stage with its own lighting and sound system. We are able to pull it into parking lots, libraries, parks, etc. And we hire local artists for this. Nashville is really blessed to have such a rich talent pool. And so, as I mentioned earlier, it is the greatest hits of opera, the things that you may have heard it through Bugs Bunny or a Doritos commercial, but you know it. And then well-known Broadway songs as well as American songbook pieces. Again, completely free due to our generous sponsors. But we have a spring tour and a fall tour. So the fall tour just wrapped up, and we visited Plaza Mariachi. We visited the Hendersonville area. We visited West Haven. It's really just getting into areas that might not know that we exist. That's our number one challenge. Is the best way to put it is static. So many people come up to us when we do Nashville Scenes Movies in the Park over here at Elmington Park. Oh, I didn't know Nashville had an opera company. And again, another running joke has become, yeah, we try to keep that a secret. But if you think about it, over the course of the pandemic, when we were dark and not able to perform in the theater, if that metric of 100, 110 people moving to Nashville every day held true, 60,000+ people moved to Nashville and had no reason to know we existed. So in a way, it's playing catch up. in a way, it is just reintroducing ourselves to a growing region.
When you look at ways to help, obviously sponsorships, financial contributions, season tickets, like there's a lot of things that people can do to support your efforts, but give us a few more ways we can help, and then obviously where we go to help and get plugged in.
Sure. I think the biggest thing that people can do to help is just give opera a try. When Wicked comes to town, nobody's like, oh, I don't know, green people, which people have those worries about opera. I'm not going to have a good time. They're just going to be screaming at me for hours. Give it a try. Florencia is sung entirely in Spanish, but the score is flowing and melodic. It's basically like La Boheme, but in Spanish. Follow us on our social media. I really do my best as the director of marketing to debunk and give those behind the scenes looks at what we do. I've been with this company since March of 2022, and I can honestly say, knock on wood, I've never run into, the diva who is just demanding and screaming. Everybody loves coming to work with Nashville Opera, and we're very lucky to have them. The art is transcendent. Our mission statement talks about the power and the passion of opera. And really, that is the truth. It is the essence of human experience, both the highs and the lows. But where to find out more information? NashvilleOpera.org. And then on all the social platforms, except TikTok, because I'm 41 and I don't have that kind of time. We're at Nashville Opera on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well.
That makes it easy. Once again, website, NashvilleOpera.org. So Will Schutz, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.